All right, now, it's really important. As a surgeon, I'm very disabled. I can only use tools. And if a tool works for me, then it's great, and I keep it. And if it doesn't, I throw it away and find a new tool. I could never do muscle testing for the life of me. And in 2002, some guy who was doing a past life regression said, oh, they say you need to learn how to use a pendulum. Well, I bought some expensive pendulums, and I was like, duh. 2004, I went to Donna Eden, Energy Medicine for Women, and she taught us. David handed out dental floss and a washer, and she taught us how to make pendulums, and that I could do. And so when I got home, I still didn't like the way it felt in my hands, so sensitive. So I got 4 nuts and washers from my toolbox. Anyway, so I made these for those expensive other pendulums were like $30, $40, $50 a piece. So I made these for, so I'll try to get back here. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so I had these 4, one for the car, one for where I'm cooking, one for my pocket. So wherever I go, I could have these 4. But since then, I have made, let's see, many others, and several of my patients have watched me, and we've made pendulums for them. And if you go down to ACE, it'll cost you $3, and you can get 2 nuts and 2 washers, and you can make all the pendulums you need or want and carry it in your pocket. Okay, now, this is what I wanted you to see. So Donna taught us how to use a pendulum, and this is what's important. The pendulum is nothing more than a connection of your heart chakra and the meridian energy out into the end of the pendulum, which is the same thing you do when you muscle test. You're using the meridian energy. All right, so now you have your pendulum made. Oh, and you have to put fingernail polish over there so the knot doesn't come undone. Now you have it made, you have to talk to the pendulum and have it tell you yes and no, because what you have to do for the pendulum or muscle testing is to ask yes and no questions. So the first thing that you do is you say, pendulum, please show me yes. And then yes, 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 yes. And can you see it going back and forth? That one is yes. And then after you get it to your yes, may be another direction, but then you say, is this yes? And it's still going yes. And then is my name Terry? And it's still going yes. That's very good. All right, pendulum, that's very good. Now would you show me no? No, 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 no. And so now it's showing me, no. And you say, is my name Susie Q? And then you say, is this no? And then it immediately goes into yes, because it's yes, because it's no. So I have yes and I have no. You can only ask yes or no questions, and that's the hardest part about learning to use pendulum. Excuse me. Because if you try to say, is the apple better than the orange? Now, this pendulum is going, you're really screwed up. That's a screwy question. See, it's going around in circles. All right. So what you have to do is you have to translate that into pendulum talk. And what you do is you want to say, is the apple the best thing for me to eat? And tell me on a scale of 0 to 10. And they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Okay. Then you say, is the orange the best thing for me to eat? On a scale of 0 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the apple is 7, the orange is a 10. And that's how you find out which is better, which is if you want to know how many microamps to use, you start out with 20, 40, 60. Or if you want to find out if any protocol is good, you use you ask, is this protocol good for this person on a scale, of 0 to 10? And so this is, I have been using these pendulums now since 2004, and I just love them because my personality is such that I don't like to have to make decisions unless I'm in the operating room when I know for sure what I'm making the right decision. And this pendulum gives me, I don't have to make a decision. I'll let the pendulum do all the work for me. So there you can go home, you can go to your toolbox and you can get a nut and a washer, or this one has 2 nuts and a washer and a little bit of magic marker. And here's some glitter fingernail polish, and you can make your own fingernail. You can make your own pendulums. My son, he looks at me when I'm doing this. He said, "Hey, Mom, that's really cool. It's 2 nuts connected by a string." Okay. Now I have, can you see this, the hands of light? Barbara Brennan has in here a guide on how you use your pendulum to make diagnoses and things like that. It's a little more advanced pendulum working. And then I wanted to talk a brief minute about the art of medicine versus the science, which Shannon covered very well. But John Upledger was a DO, and he developed Cranio-Sacral massage therapy. Some of you have been trained by him even, maybe. But he had a legacy of textbooks, and one of them is called The Inner Physician and You. I hope you can see it. And it's smaller. And it's one of his first books, and it talks about how he learned to communicate with the tissues and his intuition using his hands with the meridian energy coming in. And then he got more complicated in the somato-emotional release and beyond. But his final book, the Bible, 500 pages, and he shows you how to talk to each tissue in the body. Cell Talk by John Upledger. So you can ask, is this protocol good for me? Or is this frequency pair good for this patient? And you can get information from the patient and not something you're projecting onto them. And I think that is really important, and it takes a little patience to learn how to do that. But once you start doing it, you become a much better practitioner because you are getting your information from the patient itself. All right, now let's do questions.
We can bring them up here. Let me see here. Questions. So Erin asks, thank you, or says, thank you for your talk. What do you recommend for learning muscle testing?
I don't, because I'm not good at it. I recommend you get somebody like Pam Mills to teach you how to do it. And I think each person, depending upon whether you're a kinesthetically based person or a visually based person, you will have to work on finding out what's going to work for you. That's why, even though I'm a kinesthetic based person, as a surgeon, I always use tools. So I had to have a tool that would translate that for me. That's why I like the pendulum a lot.
The next question was from Summer, and she asked, with regards to the setup on the wrists, are you saying both wrists are wrapped with electrodes and wet sock or handkerchief? Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yes, you take the negative leads and you poke them into that little short black carbon electrode. And then you put that in either the wet tube sock and wrap the tube sock around, or a wet white cotton handkerchief and wrap it around the wrist so that your retina eye can't see, I guess. so that you get all these meridian points that are around the wrist covered. And then you put the positive, I usually put the positive ones on the right hand if they're right hand dominant. And then you have to ask the pendulum, you know, which is which. So you have left on the left, positive on the positive. So there's only 2 wraps. And then you have to wrap them in plastic to keep the moisture in there. And that way I have gone down grocery shopping with my microcurrent running in the pocket. And so that's what I do.
And then there was another question. What was the first book title about the pendulum? Was that the Barbara Brennan book?
Yeah, it's the Barbara Brennan book, Hands of Light. Now, Hands of Light, I went on the internet last night, and there are several good YouTube things on how to use a pendulum. I just happen to like Barbara Brennan because she's like the guru of, she's a Reiki, she's gifted, and I like to go to people who can actually see what they're doing with their energy. So I used her stuff.